This is Edward Douglas from ComingSoon.net. I'm here with an actress who you may recognize from a bunch of movies that did really well. Her name is Ashley Greene, and I'm actually here talking to her about a movie called Skateland, which was at Sundance in 2010. It's the debut by Anthony Burns, and it's a really cool movie. It takes place in the 80s, early 80s in Texas, kind of a small town coming-of-age movie, and she plays Michelle Burkham, and she's kind of like a record store clerk who kind of she's best friends with the lead character Shiloh Fernandez, who plays Richie, and it's really, I mean, obviously you weren't born when this movie takes place.
Yeah.
I was, so I can say that it actually was very accurate and realistic to the time.
I was born in the 80s, but not the early 80s.
Oh, the early 80s. Okay. So what was the first of all, how did they introduce you to the script, and how did you meet Anthony and Heath, who also acted in this, and he also co-wrote the movie? Yeah.
I just you know, I get sent scripts, and so I read it, and I just really responded to the material, and I responded to the film as a whole, and in particular Michelle Burkham, just because she is a very kind of strong yet vulnerable character. She has kind of both sides, and I kind of liked her. She was kind of a spitfire and a no-nonsense girl who kind of, I think, had a sense of self and a handle a little bit on the world, more so than some other characters. So I was really drawn to her. And then the film as a whole has a lot of really universal, relatable themes, things that we all go through, love, loss, heartbreak, trying to go from, you know, adolescence to adulthood, and having to adapt, I think, to the change that was happening, and so I loved it and said I, you know, would love to meet the director on this, and so I went in and read for them, and they thankfully responded to me as well, and then I had to go back in and chemistry read, and Shiloh and I actually chemistry read together, and it was kind of, yeah, and it was, you know, one of those things where it was so organic and easy and simple, and we just kind of knew this works, and so they thankfully cast both of us.
But how long ago was this? Because was it like after the first Twilight movie? Was it kind of in between them? When?
It was after the first, before the second. It was probably about 2 years ago now.
Okay.
So it was a while ago.
Oh yeah, right. Because it was a Sundance last year, so it must have been shot the summer before.
Yeah.
What was it like? Did you shoot all in Texas? Was it all shot in Texas during the summer? Or
it was in Shreveport, Louisiana. We only shot an actual small part in Texas, but they felt that Shreveport had enough of the same general kind of feel and vibe, and it's actually very close.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. What's your own background with the 80s? Whether I know you lived in it for 3 years, but what was
best years of my life?
did you have any connection to the music or anything about that? Did you know a lot about it from like either older brothers or sisters or from parents?
I didn't really know. My brother's only a year and a half older than me,
okay.
So. But you know, I talked to my mom a little bit about it. It's so funny because I looked exactly like my mother while I was filming this movie. It was kind of awesome. But no, I really wasn't that familiar with the 80s. And one of the best things that the producers actually and director did was they gave all the immediate cast members an iPod with a compilation of all of the music they would potentially use, or that was relevant, or that they, you know, remembered from their past time. And so that was really nice to have, because it kind of got you in that general feel and vibe. And then they separately made CDs for me as well, because Michelle was so musically involved. So that was very helpful. And then, you know, we had consultations with hair and makeup and the wardrobe and stuff like that. But no, before I wasn't really that familiar with the 80s.
And what about Heath? Because I know he wrote. He's also playing a major role. He plays your older brother in the movie, and it's really great role. It's really kind of amazing that we haven't really seen him acting in a lot of movies.
I know. He's so. I mean, you're kind of drawn to him when you watch it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what was your introduction like? What was your first meeting with, like, when you met the director, with Anthony and him? And
the first time I met him, I mean, it's Heath. He's just so, I think, kind of warm and charming, and I was instantly comfortable with him, and you know, I think he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cook dinner. Everyone come over and hang out," and they just made it super easy. The first day that we all hung out, they had us all go water skiing.
Oh wow!
And it was kind of this really fun, like, bonding experience, and you know, we kind of lived out some of the scenes in the movie, which is very carefree and easy, and so. I mean, I'm very thankful for that, because he was playing my brother, and it made it very easy to really genuinely care about him in the film.
Did you find out how much of this is actually based on things that happened to them?
A lot of it is. I mean, a lot of it is basically their story, and a lot of the characters are real. The character Michelle that I played is a a real character, and I didn't really talk to her that much, but just in passing met her once, and so that was really, really cool.
How did they introduce you? It's like, oh, she's playing you? Is that like that kind of?
Yeah.
Is it really that awkward?
It's the girl playing you, and she's like, oh, really? You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a cool thing to be able to talk to Heath and Brandon and Tony and all of them, and to realize that this is really their life.
Oh yeah. What can you see connection? I mean, I don't know if you grew up in a small town as well, or you kind of are.
I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and so it was. I mean, it's huge land-wise, but it's that kind of a little bit of the small town mentality and a bit southern. And so, although I don't think to the extreme of what you see in Skateland, I definitely kind of have a taste of that world.
Did you have a hangout place, like the roller skate place, like in your own?
I mean, I definitely for a while we always went roller skating or rollerblading. It was rollerblading.
Oh, okay, right before it.
I went, but that and the ice skating rink we hung out for a long time. I think in middle school.
And read my own. Oh yeah, you mentioned you had a read with Shiloh, who's really also he also is fairly new actor as well.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you read? Did you like read some of the main scenes, or what do they have you guys do?
Yeah, we did. One of the scenes, I think, where he's talking about how he doesn't even know himself anymore. In the mall scene where he brings me an icy and that whole thing. We had to do that scene. I in particular had to do. I had to do the scene where I'm talking to him after the tragic death scene. And
okay.
It's, me sitting in the bedroom, and so that was one of the scenes that we had to do, which was a tough one.
What was I don't know much of your background before Twilight. I know you were doing some modeling, but also how did you transition into acting, and what was the motivator to get into acting?
I modeled in LA to pay rent, basically. I never really wanted to model in LA. I was just kind of. Honestly, I don't get how a lot of people survive, because it's tough trying to pay rent in LA. But I started in Jacksonville, Florida. My mom put me in a modeling class, and I just they also had commercials and acting, and so I just went from one to the next. And then when I was 16, I just was like, this is what I want to do. And so I moved to LA, and then struggled for about 2 years, and then I booked stuff guest stars and co-stars and stuff like that on things like Crossing Jordan and Shark, and did a telenovela type thing. And then, Twilight was the big break that you always hear about, but it was a huge break.
Yeah, but now you have so many movies. You've been shooting pretty much nonstop, I think, pretty much. From and it's funny, so I was reading Heath's bio, and I think that he actually got frustrated with Hollywood, and I don't know if he left Hollywood or not, but he kind of part of this movie happening is because he got frustrated with the whole thing. So
drive.
Yeah. So what? Do you generally just like to work? I mean, I know you're also doing a lot of independent films. Like this one is very, it's great. You're in this one. And what?
Yeah, I do enjoy working. And the thing is, before Twilight, I struggled for so long just to get any kind of part, and so, after that started happening, I wanted to work, and I was I think, addicted to work. Mm-hmm. Now I'm slowing down a little bit. I think that I definitely want to be a lot more project specific, because I'm finally, I think, thankfully, to that place where I can sit. If I don't see something I absolutely love for a year, then it won't work for a year. But before that, I did. I hadn't really done much before Twilight, and so everything that I did do was new and something I hadn't played before, in a different genre and a different character. And so, they're all coming out this year, and I think it'll be really great because people will, finally get to see a departure from Alice Cullen.
Actually, it is. They all are coming out. Well, most of them come out this year because they like Butter and also you've been doing a lot of interviews. Have you actually finished Breaking Dawn? And you're actually done shooting and everything, or?
No, I'm not done. I have to go back in a few days. We are in the midst of it. We're coming towards the end of of filming. I think we have about a month and a half left because it was a 6-month shoot because we were doing
Two
both
movies,
films
right.
at one time.
Have you been traveling around? Like I know they've been traveling a lot. You've been doing a lot of traveling to different places, or is that kind of?
Yeah, we were in Baton Rouge for a while, and then now we're in Vancouver, but we're in different parts of Canada. But then we'll wrap out there and we'll be done, and then of course the press and the releases and stuff like that. So
right, that's funny. It's funny because I mean I've met David Slade and Bill Conn. I've interviewed both of them, and I can't think of two guys who are more
so
different. They're different, both personality-wise, sensibilities, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it like transitioning to different directors each time you do one of these movies? And
I really enjoy it. I think each of the films have been severely different, and they have very, I think, different themes, and some are meant to be darker than others, and some are meant to be more magical than others. And I think that they've done a really good job at kind of selecting a director to really cater to what we're trying to get across in the film, and so they've all been very severely different. And I think I have loved them all. I think David Slade's a trip. I mean, he's so dry and sarcastic, but I think that he is genius. I think he's a really fantastic director, and I had fun with him. And then Bill Condon, who is of course complete opposite, but I feel like every day I go to set and you just can't help but smile because you can really tell that he just loves his job and he loves what he does. And I mean, why not? He's fantastic at it, and he has a way, I think, of working with us and really pulling things out. And so I'm very excited to be working with him.
And are you able to use some of the, I know all the same actors are the same between the movies. Are you able to use some of the same crews in Vancouver, so it's not like a whole new thing each time?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of switching out, but yeah, we do. There's probably like I think 25% have been pretty consistent.
I think a question everyone wants to know, people who haven't read the book, will there ever be another Cullen baseball game? I figure they really has a great game. I figured there'd be something regularly.
I know, that was an epic scene.
Too busy fighting things.
Yeah, no, I think this one's more fighting and weddings and babies than baseball, unfortunately.
Okay. And you're also doing the Apparition, which is coming out fairly soon, which is kind of interesting because it's a studio movie, but it's also a first-time writer and director, which is very, very rare. I would think, yeah. What I'm curious how that differs from like a lot of other haunted house movies, because there's been a lot, obviously, with like Paranormal Activity and things like that. Does it have a very different take that you think?
Yeah, well, the thing that attracted me to Apparition is that they, when I sat down and I talked to Todd and I talked to, some of the producers, they didn't want it to be a horror movie. They wanted it to be more of a thriller and be more elevated. And some of the movies they referenced that I watched were like Rosemary's Baby and Poltergeist and films like that were just absolutely terrifying, in their time. And they weren't necessarily, blood and gore and horror. And that's kind of the same thing that we wanted to accomplish with Apparition, is make this film so terrifying because it's not the typical horror film, and we are doing everything that a normal person would do, rather than doing the cheap thrill, scare, horror movie tactics. And so that was a big thing, and that they, really wanted Kelly to be proactive. And a lot of times in thrillers, the females are stupid. And they're not. I mean, just to be blunt, but they're not smart, and they're not proactive. And so that was a big motivator for me as well. And from the get-go, they have just been very collaborative with me and with Sebastian, who plays my love interest in the film.
Have you seen any part of it yet, or?
I have seen some of it, and we're actually doing some reshoots. So we're going to change a couple of things to kind of tweak and fine-tune everything. I saw the film without any kind of special effects and any music, which in a thriller kind of ruins it. So I think the score in thrillers is a very big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think I like what I've seen so far, and it is scary. And I think when I was filming this movie, having to think about all of these scenes was kind of messing with my psyche, because I think it's stuff that could potentially happen, and so I think that's the scariest part of it.
Let's get out of here.
Go where?
Anywhere. End of an era. Something like that.